Hi, in this session we'll discuss about the design patterns in UI5. So first of all, the agenda here is to discuss the design patterns, the routing and the navigation, and then the tables in the UI5. So first of all, what are the design patterns? So we are talking about the responsive design in the SAP UI5 and SAP Fiori. Certainly we have come of age. Well, not yet, we are still one step behind. Though the responsive design has the kind of become a buzzword in and around the SAP, general web and the mobile development paradigm has gone further. So the Google has even realized this, its new design methodology called as the Google Material Design. So material design isn't only responsive, but it tries to replicate the experience we have while working with different materials in the real life, such as water, blocks, paper, and so on. So we simply don't need to learn to use the applications at all. Google is cleverly working on to eliminate an important factor that acts as a hindrance in adopting the new technology, and that is learning. So we already know that when we put the papers on top of one another, we can't see the overlapping content. So the Google motivates us to use the similar design experience while developing the UI and make overlapping UI that exhibit the overlapping paper experience. So we have some more time to go until we start using the material design in the SAP UI5. However, we should be happy that SAP is genuinely working on adopting the new technology design principles. So SAP has given the deep thought before relating its design patterns. At least that is what we feel. So in almost every large scale enterprise application, important feature is fetch, select, detail. That means we would generally input some data, fetch the data from the backend into the table, make the lead selection and view the details of the selected entry. So to translate this experience on the mobile device, SAP has released 4 different design patterns, which are the master detail, master detail, full screen, and the multi-flow. So although there are a few design patterns in SAP UI5 and Fiori, so these patterns they are supported by most of the enterprise business scenarios. So in addition, these design patterns form the base for building the SAP Fiori applications, and when we use these design patterns, our custom Fiori app will have a unified user experience with the standard SAP Fiori apps. So here are the 4 design patterns which we have. First one is the master detail. So this pattern is supported by split app control of SAP UI5, and it is just a master list displaying the list of the content, which allows the lead selection and its detailed view. So this is mostly the starting point in the application building. After that we have the master detail. So we can think of the shopping cart or the trip booking application. So we don't want our trip to be booked right on the first page or the payment to be made when we visit the shopping cart. We want to see a confirmation page which will show what we are buying or which flight we are booking, and also display the details of the transaction in the detail section. So this is my master detail. After that we have the full screen. So this is best suited for displaying the charts, bar graphs, and the pictorial data. Then we have the multi-flow. So SAP recommends using this pattern when application flow is too complex and we need to use all the patterns together to build the working app. Then we have the navigation and the routing. So in this we will we'll see how we can use the navigation and the routing features of SAP UI5. So the navigation and routing is essential in modern single page applications such as apps built in the SAP UI5. So in classical web applications, the server determines which resource is requested based on the URL pattern of the request and serves it accordingly. So the server-side logic controls how the requested resource or the page is displayed in an appropriate way. Now in the single page applications, only one page is initially requested from the server and additional resources are dynamically loaded using the client-side logic. So the user only navigates within this page. The navigation is persisted in the hash instead of the server path or the URL parameters. So we can create a simple app displaying the data of a company's employee to show the typical navigation patterns and the routing features. So the complete flow of this, it can be seen in the figure on the slide. So we'll start with the home page, which lets the user to do the following, that is to display a not found page, to navigate to the list of employees and drill further down to a detailed page for each employee, or to show an employee overview that they can search and sort. So here we can see these are the three navigations which we can have. So the first one is that the page not found, then navigate to the employee list and then to the detail. Otherwise it can be a navigation to the employee overview and then to the employee resume. So these are the different steps we have for the for setting up the navigation and routing. So first of all, we have to set up the initial app. So we start by setting up a simple app for this tutorial. So this app displays the mock data only and mimics the real OData backend calls with the mock server, as we can see in the tutorial here. So now the second thing is the enable routing. So in this step, we'll modify the app and introduce the routing. So instead of having the home page of the app hard-coded, we will configure a router to wire the multiple views together when our app is called. So the routing configuration controls the application flow when the user triggers a navigation action or opens a link to the application directly. After that, we have the catch invalid hashes. So sometimes it is important to display an indication that the requested resources are not found. So if a user tries to access an invalid pattern which does not match any of the configured routes, the user is notified that something went wrong. So we might also know this as a 404 or the not found page from the traditional web pages. So we'll implement a feature that detects the invalid hashes and visualizes this in a nice way. After that, the fourth step is add a back button to the not found page. Now when we are on the not found page because of an invalid hash, we want to get back to our app to select another page. Therefore, we will add a back button to the not found view and make sure that the user gets redirected to either the previous page or the overview page when the back button is pressed. Then we have display a target without changing the hash. So in this we'll learn more about the targets and how to display a target from the routing configuration manually. Then navigate to the routers with the hard-coded patterns. So in this step we'll create a second button on the home page with which we can navigate to a simple list of employees. Then we have the navigate to the routes with the mandatory parameters. So in this case, we implement a feature that allows the user to click on an employee in the list to see the additional details of the employee. A route pattern can have one or more mandatory parameters to identify the objects in an app. Then navigate with the flip transition. So in this we want to illustrate how to navigate to a page with a custom transition animation. So both forward and the backward navigation will use the flip transition but with a different direction. So we will create a simple link on the employee view that triggers a flip navigation to a page that displays the resume data of a certain employee. So pressing the back button will navigate back to the employee view with a reversed flip transition. Then we have the allow the bookmarkable tabs with the optional query parameters. So the resume view contains the 4 tabs as we have seen in the previous step. However, when the user navigates to the resume page, only the first tab is displayed initially. So navigating directly to a specific tab or bookmarking a tab is not yet supported in this app. Then we have the implement lazy loading. So we have implemented a resume view that uses the tabs to the display data. So the complete content of the tab is loaded once, no matter which tab is currently displayed. So we can increase the performance of our app by avoiding to load content that is not visible. Therefore, we implement a lazy loading feature that only loads the view and the data when requested by the user. After that, we have the assign multiple targets. So in this, we will add a new button to the home page to illustrate the usage of the multiple targets for a route. So if a button is clicked, a new page opens that contains 2 parts, a header part at the top and a content part. So the content part displays a table of employees that can be sorted and searched. Then we'll use the array notation in the routing config to assign the multiple targets to a route, a feature that we have not yet introduced. After that, we have a make a search bookmarkable. So in this, we'll make the search bookmarkable. So this allows the users to search for the employees in the employee table and they can bookmark their search query or share the URL. Then we have make the table sorting bookmarkable. So in this, we'll create a button at the top of the table which will change the sorting of the table. So when the current sorting state of the table is changed, the sorting state will be reflected in the URL. After that, we have the make dialogues bookmarkable. So in this, we want to allow the bookmarking of the open dialog when the user clicks the sorting button. So the dialog should automatically open when the URL contains the query parameter. So then we have the reuse an existing route. So the employees table displays the employee data. However, the resumes of the employees are not accessible from this view yet. So we could create a new route and a new view to visualize the resume again, but we could also simply reuse an existing route to cross-link the resume of a certain employee. So in this, we will add a feature that allows the users to directly navigate to the resume of a certain employee. So we'll reuse the resume page that we have created in the earlier step. So this illustrates that there can be the multiple navigation paths that direct to the same page. After that, we have to handle the invalid hashes by listening to the bypassed events. So far, we have created the many useful routes in our application. In the very early steps, we have also made sure that a not found page is displayed in case the app was called with an invalid hash. Now we proceed further and track the invalid hashes to be able to detect and correct any invalid links or add the new URL patterns that are often requested but not found. Therefore, we simply listen to the bypassed events. Then we have the listen to the matched events of any route. So in the previous step, we have listened for the bypassed events to detect the possible technical issues with our app. Now in this step, we want to improve the analysis use case even more by listening to any matched event of the route. So we could use this information for measuring how the app is used and how frequently the pages have been hit. Many web analytics tools track the page hits this way, and the collected information can be used to improve our app and its usability. So these are the 17 steps using which we have explained the different navigation and the routing methods in SAP UI5 using an example of the employee application which has 3 things in it. The first one is the not found page, the second one is the employee detail, and the third one is the more detail about the resume. After that, we have the table in the UI5. So the table is a commonly used in the open UI5 desktop application. So it provides a comprehensive set of features for displaying and dealing with the vast amount of data. So the table control, it supports the desktop PCs and the tablet devices. So on tablets, the special consideration should be given to the number of visible columns and the rows due to the limited performance of some devices. So in order to keep the document DOM as lean as possible, the table control reuses its DOM elements of the rows. So when the user scrolls, only the row contexts are changed, but the rendered controls remain the same. So this allows the table control to handle the huge amount of data. So nevertheless, the restrictions apply regarding the number of displayed columns. So keep the number as low as possible to improve the performance. So due to the nature of the tables, the used control for the column templates also has a big influence on the performance. So the table control, it relies completely on the data binding and its supported features set is tightly coupled to the data model and binding being used. So these are the we have this sap.ui.table which we have to use whenever we want to use the table control in any of the application. So this is the sample JSON model. So here we can see we have the last name. These are the three last names. After that we have this one, the instantiate a table. So it can be as simple as just writing the variable o table equals to new SAP UI table, where we inherit all the default properties from the control. Then we have the selection mode. So here we can control the selection mode such as none, single and multiple. So default is multi here. So none means that it has disabled the selection, single means that maximum one row can be selected, multi means that one or more rows can be selected. After that we have the selection behavior. So here we can control how the row can be selected, such as row only, which means the mouse click on the row only, then the row, that is the mouse click on the row and the row selector, and the row selector, that means the mouse click on the row selector only. So the default is row selector. So here we can see this is my row selector. If we have this table and this is one of the row, so this is my row selector, that is my mouse click will work only on the row selector. So this is the end of this session. So in this session we have seen what are the design patterns, what are the navigation and routing options we have. After that we have seen the table control in the SAP UI5 in detail. Thank you.